Once upon a time, in the days when the forests were still deep, and the bells of the village chapel rang across meadows of time, there stood a green and fertile hamlet, nestled between two gentle hills. 500 souls tilled the soil there, yet every furrow they cut seemed to belong to another. For the land was ruled by Baron Dietrich, a man as broad as an ale barrel, and as heavy of heart as the iron chest in which he kept his coins. Each dawn he strode among his peasants, cracking his ashwood switch, demanding 3 measures of sweat for every half measure of bread. At dusk he returned to his timbered manor, where his wife Lady Hedwig, no less vast than he, sat before a table that groaned under pasties and honeyed custards, while the field workers supped only on crusts and cold spring water. In that hamlet lived a child named Anna, 10 winters old, whose eyes held the quiet gray of winter mist. Her father had died of the lung sickness the year the rye failed. Her mother, Martha, now labored alone in the barren strips of barley and flax. Though Anna's arms were thin as birch twigs, she carried a grown-up share of toil without complaint, and the other cottagers said she had been kissed at birth by the spirit of patience itself. One midsummer noon the sun hung like a brass farthing over the fields. Martha straightened her aching back, and, wiping the dust from her brow, drew 2 dry barley cakes from her apron. "Little sparrow," she said to Anna, "take these to the spring and soften them in the water. Then fill our wooden bowl that we may eat and return to binding sheaves." Anna nodded, tucked the cakes beneath her kerchief, and trod the narrow sheep track that wound between hedgerows of elder and dogrose. The spring rose clear and cold beneath a hawthorn, its surface jeweled with midges. Anna knelt upon the mossy stone, crumbled the hard cakes into the pool, and watched them swell into something almost like bread again. As she dipped the wooden bowl, a voice, thin as wind through reeds, drifted to her ear. "Gentle child, I hunger." Startled, Anna turned. Behind her stood a woman wrapped in a cloak of rotting leaves, her hair the color of winter bark, her eyes pools of sorrow. In her arms she carried a staff of rowanwood carved with moon runes. "3 days have I wandered," the crone whispered, "and no door has opened, no hand unclenched. Those cakes, child, might they spare a mouthful for one who fades?" Anna's own stomach cramped with emptiness. She thought of her mother waiting beneath the ruthless sun. Yet when she looked into the stranger's face, she saw not age alone but the shadow of every grief the wide world holds. Without a second breath she lifted the sodden barley cakes and placed them in the woman's skeletal hands. The crone ate slowly, crumbs tumbling like sawdust. When the last morsel was gone, she laid her staff upon the ground and drew from her pouch a small iron cauldron, blackened by ancient fires. "Kindness is a coin that multiplies in the giving," she said. "Receive now a gift that shall feed more than the body." She breathed across the cauldron. The air shimmered as over hot slate. "When need presses close, set the pot upon bare earth and speak. Cauldron fair, by hearth and hill, fill thy womb with good and will. Then pass thy left hand thrice widdershins about the brim. Milk rich as midsummer cream and honey from the bee-loud comb shall rise to the lip. So long as thou dost eat, the gift endures. When thou wouldst still the flow, say, Cauldron bowl, thy bounty cease. Rest in peace, let plenty cease. Touch the brim with thy right hand sunwise, and the marvel shall sleep until called again. Keep the vessel safe, and it shall keep thee." Even as the final word left her lips, the crone melted into the green shade as mist dissolves at sunrise. Anna stood alone, the iron cauldron suddenly heavy in her arms. A lark sang overhead. The spring murmured on, ignorant of wonders. "Mother will be wrath," Anna murmured, pressing the cauldron to her thin chest. Yet better her anger than another's death. She hurried back along the path, heart fluttering like a trapped moth between dread and wonder. The girl, little Anna, walked the stubble path with the empty bowl upon her head, her heart knocking against her ribs like a finch in a net. When she reached the strip of barley where Martha still bent among the sheaves, she set the vessel down and told every grain of the tale: the crone, the gift, her own folly in giving away their only bread. Martha's first reply was the crack of her palm across her daughter's cheek. "Simple child, you have traded our day's strength for 4 lines of beggar rhyme." Then, seeing Anna's tears fall upon the parched earth, The mother's anger turned inward like a rusty blade. She snatched the bowl. "Very well. Let us see this honeyed nonsense feed us." Mocking she crooned. "Empty bowl fill up with cheer. Cream and comb appear. Anna, trembling, circled the rim with her left hand widdershins. At once the bowl brimmed white with thick summer cream and golden comb honey, sweeter than any manor feast. Martha fell upon her knees, dipped a crust and tasted. The cream was warm as if drawn that moment from a cow standing in clover. The honey carried the ghost of every flower between the two hills. She ate until her hollow cheeks grew round, then drew Anna to her breast. "Forgive me, little heart. You are truer than my unbelief." Anna waited until her mother's spoon slowed, then stilled the miracle with the second charm. "Cauldron bowl, thy bounty cease. Rest in peace, let plenty cease." She traced the sun's path with her right hand. The cream sank away, leaving only the faint scent of linden blossom. Mother and daughter laughed as they had not since the year the baron's tithe took their last goat, and returned to the sheaves with lightened backs. Dusk pooled violet between the hedgerows when they carried the bowl home. Their hovel of wattles and daub had never looked so welcoming. Smoke curled from the hole in the thatch, and the scent of warmed ale gruel drifted out. Inside, two smaller sisters, Lise and tiny Gretel, rubbed sleepy eyes. Martha lifted them to the bench, and Anna set the cauldron in their midst. Yet as the lamplight flickered, the girl's brow clouded. "Mother, we have eaten our fill." But Widow Klaus still counts her children's ribs, and Peter the carter's babes cry in the night. "Shall sweetness stop at our threshold?" Martha studied her daughter, this child who had once shared a crust with a blind sparrow, and felt the old hardness crack like river ice in spring. She slipped outside barefoot, and whispered through the moonlit lanes, "Come at the owl's second cry when the baron snores. Bring no candle, the moon will guide. Let not the manor dogs hear." One by one, like shadows knitting themselves to night, the neighbors came. The Klauskin, the carter's brood, the cobbler with his lame wife, 20 households in all. They crowded the single room, eyes wide as trenchers. Anna lifted the bowl. The charm floated out. "Cauldron fair, by hearth and hill. Feed every mouth, let none be nil." Cream rose, honey swirled, and the scent alone unknotted years of hunger. Each soul ate until the hollow beneath the heart was filled, and when the last child licked his finger, Anna stilled the flow. They slipped away as silently as they had come, leaving only blessings breathed upon the threshold. But greed like a rat sends plenty through stone walls. Baron Dietrich and Lady Hedwig, having supped on roast swan and sugared almonds, sat belching by their arched window. The moon showed them silhouettes darting toward the lowliest hut. The baron's small eyes narrowed. "Some secret savor stirs," he muttered. "Tomorrow we sniff it out." Next evening he climbed the outer stair to the loft dormer that overlooked Anna's roof. A chink in the shutter granted him a spy's eye. He saw the bowl, the cream, the rapt faces. His breath fogged the cold pain. His tongue tasted the phantom sweetness of power. Down he crept to Hedwig. A magic vessel, cream without cow, honey without hive. If it were ours, we need never buy butter again. We shall steal it this very night and leave a common pot in its place. Who will dare accuse the lord of the manor? So while the village dreamed, the two bulky shapes, he in wolfskin, she in velvet, waddled through the lanes, a plain iron bowl clutched between them like an unholy chalice. Lady Hedwig's mind was as cunning as her girth was wide. "Husband," she wheezed, "patience is the plump goose that lays golden eggs. Hide till sunrise, watch again from the loft. Let the whole parish crowd in, and mark every breath the child utters, both to wake the marvel and to still it. Words are free, but only a fool pays for half the song." So the next dusk the baron crouched behind the warped shutter, while candle after candle was kindled in Anna's hovel. He saw the circle of neighbors, heard the rise and fall of the charm, and, most precious, caught the counterspell that stilled the flood. "Cauldron bowl, thy bounty cease. Rest in peace, let plenty cease." He mouthed the lines until they clung to his tongue like burrs. When the last villager had slipped away, and the hamlet lay drowned in sleep, Dietrich crept downstairs, a plain iron pot beneath his cloak. Through the rear casement he crawled, exchanged the vessels in a thief's heartbeat, and waddled home with the true cauldron hugged to his chest. Hedwig buried it in the cellar beneath a mound of moldy grain. Treasure must hide from prying eyes. Dawn spread butter yellow across the barley fields. Folk trudged to their labor until only the manor and the larks remained awake. Then the Baron and his lady hauled the cauldron to their high-windowed parlor and set it on a table carved with boars and roses. Empty bowl, fill up with cheer. Cream and comb, appear. Dietrich traced the left-hand widdershins. At once the vessel foamed with thick yellow cream and honey the color of garnet fire. Hedwig squealed. The Baron roared with glee. They seized ladles, then soup platters, then handled tankards, gorging until their skin shone and their breath came short. At last they sprawled upon their velvet couch, bellies drum tight, lids fluttering like wounded moths. Noon bells rang. They woke to a curious sound, drip, drip, drip. The cauldron, still unstaunched, had overflowed the table and sent rivulets of cream across the oak floor. A golden pool lapped at the velvet slippers of Lady Hedwig. "Husband," she laughed, licking a sticky finger, "our prosperity outruns our dishware." They laughed until their ribs ached, and tears carved pale furrows down their flushed cheeks. Then they fetched mops, pails, and kitchen maids sworn to silence. Yet every swipe of the rag bred 2 new streams. Every lifted pail refilled before it reached the door. Within an hour the parlor stood ankle deep, the tapestries sodden, the air thick as a dairy in July. Dietrich's joviality soured. The countercharm, "Speak it, woman." But neither could recall the final line amid the sweet gray flood. He tried fragments. "Cauldron, stop, bowl, be still." The vessel only gurgled louder, as if mocking his fractured memory. In desperation they clapped a horse blanket over the rim and bound it with rope. The cloth drank its fill, split, and spilled twice faster. Cream crept under the parlor door. Honey tides descended the staircase. A fragrant glacier slid toward the great front doors. Servants sloshed about, squealing like startled mice. The Baron's hounds paddled past, ears flattened, tongues guiltily lapping. At sunset the tide reached the cellars, warping casks of Rhenish wine. At moonrise it brimmed beneath the kitchen gate. And still the cauldron sang its endless lacteous song, indifferent to lord or lady, to summer or siege. Thus the greedy pair learned that a spell is a key which opens 2 doors, one to fortune, one to ruin, and that he who forgets the closing word must drown in the gift he coveted. The tide would not be tamed. They lugged the cauldron into a copper cauldron. Soon that too brimmed and buckled. They dragged it to the bathhouse. Within a heartbeat the honeyed cream burst the door from its hinges and poured across the courtyard like a golden avalanche. Every stair became a butter slide, every hearth a milky lagoon. Velvet stools floated like rafts. Tapestries sagged, heavy as sodden wheat sheaves. Still the cauldron sang its endless lacteous song. At last, choking and waist-deep, the Baron flung wide the great oaken gates of the manor. A viscous wave slithered down the steps, across the parterres of rosemary and rue, until the whole garden lay glazed like a king's wasteland of frozen sun. Hedwig squealed, her silk gown ballooning about her like a tent caught in a storm. Dietrich thrashed with fists as if he could beat the tide back by sheer wrath. Their calls for help rose higher, but every villager was in the fields, backs bent to barley, unaware of the sweet deluge. By mid-afternoon the lanes themselves ran thick as winter porridge. Children returning from gleaning stopped at the edge of the flow, dipping fingers in wonder, then racing to spread the news. When Anna and Martha crested the hill, they saw the whole village glittering like a honey cake set upon green cloth, and there, half submerged, wallowed the Baron and his lady, 2 bloated figures bobbing like currants in a pudding. Anna pressed a hand to her mouth, but not to hide a smile. "Mother," she whispered, "the thief has stolen the song but not the silence." Martha nodded, eyes bright with understanding. Greed digs a pit for others and falls in itself. They circled the manor by the back lane, wading through calf-high cream that lapped softly as kitten tongues. In the cellar they found the true cauldron still gurgling beneath a toppled mound of grain sacks, its rim glowing faintly with runelight. Anna lifted it, no bigger than a milk pail, yet heavier than a year's harvest, and hugged it to her breast. "Cauldron bowl, thy bounty cease. Rest in peace, let plenty cease." She traced the sunwise circle with her right hand. At once the vessel quieted. The last swirl of cream settled like snow upon a midnight field. The room glowed dim to ember red, then slept. Above, the flood already slackened. Where cream had climbed, it now sank, leaving only a sticky lacquer upon cobble and leaf. The Baron and his lady, exhausted and half drowned, crawled to the village fountain and collapsed, coughing up sweetness, their finery plastered with petals of clover that had floated upon the tide. Folk gathered, silent at first, then unable to stifle laughter at the sight of their mighty lord reduced to a wheezing walrus in a lake of his own avarice. Someone brought a wooden pail, someone else a length of linen. They washed the sticky shame from Dietrich's beard, but no hand could scrub the stain from his name. That night Anna set the cauldron upon her own humble table. She did not call forth cream or honey. Instead she filled it with clear spring water and floated a single rose of thanks. The neighbors came, not to feast but to stand guard, for they had learned that miracles are safest in the hands of the merciful. As for the Baron, he never again cracked his ashwood switch across a peasant's back. Whenever his palm itched for the old tyranny, he tasted again the phantom sweetness of the flood, and felt his belly churn with the memory of how near greed had brought him to drowning in his own desire. And so the true cauldron returned to the cottage where kindness had first awakened it, while the manor gates, warped by honey and shame, stood forever ajar. A reminder to every passerby: he who steals the gift of the poor shall swim in the river he meant them to pour.